It's time!
Get up, let me begin. This is TWSN. You ain't heard about.
Hello, and welcome to the TWSN Patreon page. Here we will provide you with the sports betting tips, picks, and information in order for you to become a successful gambler. We have 5 packages that I think really do an incredible job of providing the information tailored to you, what you want, and what your sports betting needs are. For more information, reach out to the TWSN team, but we have a ton of stuff coming your way. Content from fantasy football, sports betting for UFC, NBA, NHL, and of course, the NFL. We are so excited to be able to bring this service to you, and let us know if there's any more information you need.
Get up, let me begin. This is TWSN. You ain't heard about us yet, well you better know now because it's the place that it all goes down on.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another week's edition of Strikes and Submissions. Here, I'm Dorian Wright, along with my co-host Michael Daly. Mike, how you feeling today?
Dorian, I'm great. It was a fantastic week of fighting. We have another pretty solid week as well coming up, so I am more than happy to be here.
Yes, sir. And as you guys can see, me and Mike decided to coordinate today. He got the orange accent. I have the orange. Thought it'd be cute for you guys. But first and foremost, make sure we drop a like on the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Instagram is going crazy with the highlights and breakdowns, Twitter as well. And first and foremost, let's just jump right into the show. On this date in 2006, UFC 65 was headlined by GSP, George St. Pierre, against Matt Hughes for the welterweight title in their rematch. Obviously, Hughes beat him in the first time around. Second time, GSP, little head kick KO. So I thought that was cool. It's crazy just to see how far MMA has come in 15 years. But Mike, you have any thoughts on that fight?
I remember watching it live. That's how crazy it is to me that it's 15 years. But you know what? Yes, Matt Hughes won the first one, and yes, GSP won the second. But both of those guys are on the Mount Rushmore of UFC welterweights. So it's phenomenal looking back and reminiscing on the wars that those two guys had. But when it's all said and done, those two will be remembered as one of the 4 greatest welterweights in UFC history.
For sure. And we all know the greatest welterweight in UFC history is Usman now. But we don't have to touch on that. We can move right along. Last week, of course, Max Holloway, who's in GOAT status as well when it comes to Mount Rushmores. Max Holloway, Viera-Rodriguez fought. It was a banger of a fight. Hell of a fight, Mike. I know I had it 0-2. Max was down 0-2 on my cards at first, and I thought he won the last 3. It's a great fight, but I'll let you start off. What were your overall takeaways from the fight?
I could see that. I could see why you would have it 0-2 because the first 2 rounds are very close. If I'm not mistaken, I had Yair winning the first, Max squeezing by the second, even though the second was very close. And then I had Max winning the last 3. But overall, this was a gritty fight. One of the best fights of the year. I don't know necessarily if it'll win fight of the year, but it's up there. It was that good. I will say, though, maybe it's because I underestimated Yair Rodriguez and his ability to be an outstanding kickboxer and his ability to survive on the ground. I was expecting Max to put on a better performance. Because to me, Max is the upper echelon of the featherweight division. And again, no knock on Yair, but Yair was coming off a 2-year layoff. And to put it in context, he had a fight where he barely won against Chen Sung Jung. Yair, to me, before the fight at least, I thought Max was going to wipe the floor with him. I'm going to be honest with you. I thought it was either going to be a late TKO or a unanimous decision that wasn't even close. I believe it was a unanimous decision, but it was just a little bit too close for comfort if you're a Max Holloway fan. And when I hear about it and look back on that fight, I'm a little worried to see Max Holloway fight Alexander Volkanovski for a third time, because Dorian, I think Volk beats him for a third time.
Interesting point that you bring up there. I think your too close for comfort thing just comes from being a Max fan, because, as a Max fan, I'm sure anyone who's an MMA fan is a Max fan, but if you're a real Max fan, a lot of people are like, oh my God, whenever it goes to decision now, we think he's just going to get robbed because of the Volk fight. But I don't think, it's your thoughts, but I don't know how you thought he would wipe the floor with Yair. I mean, I get it, coming off the layoff. I think you predicted a 4th round TKO on the last show.
Yeah.
But I thought Max would win. I didn't expect the early rounds to be as close as they were. Like in the first round, I think Max didn't have Yair's timing. Usually Max is the one that goes first. It seemed like Yair kind of started to go first, and he established himself as that kickboxer, like you said. And Max is more so of a volume boxer. He says, I'm the best boxer, but he's not throwing kicks in. So we saw Max kind of jumping around, throwing some kicks, having to avoid that calf kick that Yair was killing him with. And we saw after the fight, Yair's foot's broken, or probably broken, looks swollen like a baseball, but he was killing Max's lead leg with it. And I think it was a bit too close for comfort. I don't see the correlation between Volkanovski and Yair. I think that Max in this fight was able to get Yair to the ground and ground and pound him out and win a couple of those rounds. I don't think Max is necessarily looking for the takedown on Volk, because he's more comfortable on the feet against Volk, in my opinion. And I think if there's a takedown in that fight, it's definitely going to be Volkanovski taking down Holloway.
That's fine. But what happens when it's on the feet and Volkanovski's touching up Max like he did in the first 2 fights? Viera-Rodriguez belted him with leg kicks. I'm pretty sure Volkanovski's going to try to do the same thing, and Volkanovski will probably be successful. So that's why, Dorian, I'm just a little sheepish on saying that Max is now the rightful champion. And I'm saying that as someone, for the longest time, I believed that Max was the uncrowned champion. I no longer feel that way. And I really have started to feel that way after September 25th, when Volkanovski defended his belt against Ortega. After that fight, Volkanovski looked like a monster. There was no doubt that he was the rightful champion. Again, it's sounding like I'm bashing Max, and I'm not. I just hold Max to such a high standard because he is the greatest welterweight of all time, in my opinion. And when you're the greatest welterweight of all time, you can't allow a guy coming on a 2-year layoff to nearly hurt you with up kicks. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. And for your legs to be hurt the way they were off leg kicks, I just think Max could have prepared a little bit better. And the reason why I'm criticizing him is because if you're supposed to beat the guy who beat you twice and is now the champion in your division, it's hard for you to sell that to me that you're going to win. It's hard.
That's fair. I think I can agree with you that this wasn't the best performance by Max.
It wasn't.
But like you said, Max is the elite of the elite, the greatest featherweight ever. So we're just splitting hairs here. When you're that level, okay, a win's just not enough. Similar to, when John Jones wins, it's like, oh, but it's a split decision against Thiago Santos. It's like, all right, come on. But when you're that great, you have to split hairs. So I get why we're doing it. But in my opinion, I don't think Max even wants to fight Volkanovski again. If you heard him leading up to fight week the whole time, he was like, hey, man, I have a win over the 55 champ. I'm on the short list for Conor because we got to run that one back. And I can fight Volk for the title. Max is leaving his options open. I'm glad he didn't grab the mic and say, give me a title shot, because if we're being honest, that's the only fight to make at 45 for the belt. But if Max doesn't want it, let's not push him into something he doesn't want. And in my opinion, this is going to be the hot take segment of the week. I think Max's next opponent should be at 55, because Volkanovski looks so good. You can tell he's just about to dominate 45 for the next 5 years. Like, it's just clear. It's one of those things. There's no one coming up who you can see beating Volk. And the one guy we thought maybe edged him out doesn't even want to fight him again. And I think that says a lot, that you're offered a shot at the title and you're not taking it if you're Max now. Because obviously they said you beat him, there's no one else for us to fight. But as far as the actual fight goes, I don't think Yair and Volk's style are comparable at all. And we know Max doesn't spar. So when you combine not sparring with, it would have been hell trying to find a sparring partner like Yair. Yeah, he's going to get clipped with up kicks. He's going to get his leg beat with calf kicks because he wasn't taking those in training camp. He's not accruing that level of toughness that he needs in order to survive these things. But he's just so tough already, is born with it. He doesn't need to do that thing. So I do think his next fight should be at 55. I'm sure you agree if you don't want him to fight Volkanovski next. But I don't think Conor's the guy to fight. I'll let you speak. I will wait because my 55 opponent is a bit out of whack. You probably wouldn't think of him.
To be honest, I don't want to see Max at 55. If I'm going to be honest with you, I already saw it. And he lost. I don't want to see it. At the end of the day, I'm all for people making money, and Conor McGregor and a Max Holloway fight would do tremendous numbers.
But if we're a pay-per-view with that.
Easily. It would be main event pay-per-view, probably in T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. You could easily book it 500,000 domestic pay-per-view buys. Easily. And by far, it would be the biggest pay-per-view or the biggest payday of Max Holloway's career. But if I'm talking from a pure standpoint, I want to see him in there with Volkanovski because he still has unfinished business. But I don't want to see him at 55 because if he's going to fight at 55, he is going to fight the elite at 155 pounds. He already fought Dustin Poirier, and he got manhandled at 155 pounds. That was the second time they fought. If he's going to fight at 55, he's going to fight someone Michael Chandler and up. He's not necessarily going to fight someone that's middle of the road.
Right, and I agree. And he shouldn't because he would hurt that person because the UFC tried, hey, let's put you with and no disrespect, but the UFC tried to put him with a middle-of-the-road guy with Calvin Kattar, and Calvin Kattar's still on the shelf. So you can't just throw Max in there with anybody. I agree. I think with the Dustin thing, that wasn't 55 Max. Like, he weighed in on the scale at 55. It was for an interim title. But if we're being honest, Max was the 45 champ. You can't and Max cuts a lot of weight to get to 45. So you can't really build your body, build the muscle needed to move up to 55 unless you're never planning on making 45 again, which is what Conor did. Conor beats Jose for the 45 title, moves up to 55. You'll never see Conor again at 45 in your life because he's just too big now. So I think with that, Max probably didn't really weight train and manage his strength as he should have because he landed shots on Dustin. It wasn't like Dustin, I don't think manhandle is the word. I think Dustin hit him with the more power shots because he was the bigger fighter. But Max was landing on Dustin just as he lands on everybody else. So I think if you put, and this, again, hot take, let Tony Ferguson get a win and then put him in there with Max Holloway at 55. Two guys, slim build, not overly size difference. Let Max get some time under his belt so he doesn't have to sit out and put on this weight. Give him, I guess you can call it a tune-up fight. Tony Ferguson and Max, that's a main event on a fight night in the Apex or anywhere they want to do that. That's a main event. That's 5 rounds. You have 2 guys you know who are probably just going to stand and bang. That's what we want. So Conor right now is still injured. A lot of people are calling him out. Everybody wants to fight him. I get it because he keeps his name in the headlines. He's a great self-promoter. But Conor is going to be out until June. I don't want to see Max on the shelf till June. I want to see Tony get a win sometime early next year. And then let's see Tony and Max.
Tony and Max, that would be a great fight. I think Max beats him. I don't know how you feel. I think Max, that would be a great fight, and it would probably be a pretty good payday. I don't think it would headline a pay-per-view. It would probably be a fight night, but that would be a terrific fight. So you know what? There are fights out there for him 155, but again, as a purist, 145 is where I want to see him because I want to see if he can get past Volkanovski. I think he's capable of it, but Volkanovski, I think, is too good at this point to fight the version of Max that we all saw last Saturday.
The reason, not that I don't want to see him in there with Volk, but okay, what if he goes in and he beats Volkanovski? Volkanovski's going to run through the rest of the division, and then we're going to do Max Volk 4? That's why I don't think it was that's why I'm not a fan of immediate rematch. I tell you this in the chat all the time. I hate rematches. I hate trilogies. Not because they shouldn't happen, but the timing is wrong. Like if Wei Li were to beat Rose, they would have booked the trilogy already. And you're holding up a division for 2-3 years straight. If Max beats Volk, you're holding up the 45 division. And if Volk beats Max again, that'd be 3-0. Then you're forcing Max to move up because we see what Max does to everyone else in the division. He puts them on the shelves for a year. He's going to hurt them. Yair's going to be out for time. He hurt Brian Ortega badly, and that was a title fight. He beat Ortega way worse than Volk did. And I know MMA math isn't your thing, but just saying, Max does this to everybody. The one guy he can't do it to, all right, okay. There's 2 top dogs. I don't know.
Yeah, but Dorian, this is how the 145-pound division has been since Conor left.
Never. Just always. It's just been Jose, Conor, Max.
Yeah, Jose, Conor, Max. It's like so I kind of compare it to the cruiserweight division in boxing. It's a solid division, but there's not a ton of huge names. And you could say Max Holloway's a huge name, but it's not the glamour division is what I'm really trying to say. It's not. You have really talented guys, but it's that division where it's like, all right, you're too big to fight at 135 or 125, but you're not big enough to fight at 155 or 170. And 155 right now is the glamour division in MMA. That's what it is. Maybe middleweight, but I would say right now 155 is the top division. So I don't think this will ever change until you get a Conor McGregor and you get a Max Holloway who are willing to stay there, but you get a ton of other guys too, and you build it up how the 155-pound division is built up.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, actually. And I think that the 35 division is probably the deepest when we're talking about all the ranked guys and even the unranked guys as compared to lightweight. But I do think like the top 10 in lightweight is the best top 10 across any division. But I think if some of these 35ers, start losing a little bit and move up, the 45 division can get real interesting very quickly. Like if TJ Dillashaw moves up to 45, there's a new name. If Sandhagen moves up to 45, there's a new name. So I think we have matchups that we would like to see for Max, but they're all at 55 now, except for Volk, obviously. Mm-hmm. You got the champ, and then everyone else, we've seen Max against everyone else in the division because he's cleaned out the division the last 5-6 years. But I think, one thing I did write down, I wanted to make note of this. Max's chin is the best chin in MMA history.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you have a rebuttal for that or if you agree, but Max's chin is goated, and that's really that on that.
That does scare me, though, because if you remember, Chuck Liddell had the greatest chin in MMA history until he didn't.
Yeah.
MMA is built where you can be great until you're not. That's usually what happens. If you stay around just long enough, your chin is going to get brutalized. And Max is one of the greatest chins of all time. I honestly would agree with you. I think he might have the greatest chin, but I think that's because he might have the greatest defense in MMA history. if you look at the way he's able to roll his shoulders, block shots, get away from really absorbing damage like other guys do. I mean, he even showed Brian Ortega how to keep his hand up and taught him a boxing lesson mid-fight. Max Holloway is a great defensive fighter, so I think that's part of the reason why his chin is so great is because naturally he loves to box and he loves to mix it up.
Yeah, I think that his chin, like you said, it's only going to be good until so long. He has absorbed, I think, the most strikes in the division since he's been in there. And I think that he's also thrown out 2,000 more punches and kicks than anyone else. So, yeah, when you're putting out that volume, you're going to leave openings for people to get you back. So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. I think, and he's only 29. Max hasn't even hit his athletic prime. And this is why I'm okay with him moving up to lightweight. Because it's going to take a little bit of time to put that extra 10 pounds of muscle on that you no longer have to cut. And then let's see him in with, well, maybe not Dustin, but let's see him with a top 5 guy right away. Because it's Max, so you don't want to give him, just anybody in the lightweight division. But I don't know. We'll see. There's a lot of grapplers in the division, too. I don't think he's going to want to match up against. But moving along to this week's fight night, we have a good card, actually, underrated card. And last week's was a great card, too. There's only 2 decisions on the card. The rest were finishes. One was the Max decision, and the other one was Courtney Casey, I think. Courtney Casey and Leanna. But this week, we have Caitlin Vieira and Miesha Tate headlining. Michael Chiesa, Sean Brady as the co-main. We got some great names on this card, Mike. How do you see this night going?
I'm going to start with the main event. I see Miesha Tate getting a victory. You know what? I made my bed and I had to lay in it last July when I said that Marion Renault was going to beat Miesha Tate. I was wrong. And you know what? I can admit that. I can full well admit that I was wrong and I doubted Miesha Tate. And I won't do it again against someone like Ketlin Vieira. Because Ketlin Vieira, although she's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, a solid striker as well, I think maybe a better striker than Miesha Tate showed me a lot in her last fight. She seems to be in the best shape of her life right now from a conditioning standpoint and just physically as well. I think that is going to bode well for her because look at how she was able to dominate Marion Renault on the ground. She was able to flatten her back out and then just pummel her with punches. There's a very good chance she could do that again with Ketlin Vieira. Ketlin Vieira, I think, left a lot on the table in her last fight in February, which was a loss. I don't know if Miesha Tate's the person you want to necessarily fight, but I will say, though, I think Ketlin Vieira is a tough matchup for Miesha Tate because if Miesha's trying to grapple, Ketlin has the background to make it hard for her. And Ketlin might try to throw up a submission. Ketlin might try to submit her. But I think Miesha is going to package it all together offensively with her stand-up game and her ground game as well. And I think Miesha Tate's going to get a split decision victory.
Interesting that you brought that up. I also had that written down. So I was watching some Vieira film, and I saw against Kunitskaya, she kind of accepted being on her back. She was trying to throw up submissions. She was trying to get her jiu-jitsu working. And I think as long as she doesn't do that again, because I don't know if you recall, but at the end of the fight, it was literally like 10 seconds left. Kunitskaya just starts dropping elbows when she heard the clappers and busted the whole side of Caitlin's face open. And like it's, as a fighter, I can only imagine how much that sucks to be 10 seconds away from the fight ending and you just get a cut like that right over your face, just running down your face, and it was bad. But so I'm pretty sure hopefully she learned her lesson. She won't be playing in the guard against Miesha Tate if Miesha Tate gets her down. But I actually have Vieira winning. I think this is going to be a convincing win. I think this is the win she's going to need to propel herself into the title picture. I think she was on a nice run up until obviously Aldana and Kunitskaya got her in 2 of her last 3 fights. But I think she gets back on track with Miesha Tate. I think this is a grappler versus grappler type of matchup. But I do, like you said, think Viera is the better striker. And I think if they can't get to the ground, that favors Viera a lot more than it does Tate. And if Tate does get her to the ground, I don't know if she'll be able to submit her because Viera is a tough cookie. I don't think she's been submitted in her career at all. But Miesha Tate's going to have her work cut out for her. This isn't coming off a layoff. Everyone's happy for you. This is, okay, you're back in the water with the Sharks. Can you sink or can you swim? Is the only question that we still have for Miesha Tate. And at this point, I won't pick her to get finished, but we might see a technical knockout, as if you will, like it was last week. I can't remember who it was, but she didn't come out of Andrea Lee, the girl she fought, didn't come out of the corner. She was just gassed.
Yeah,
I can see something like that happening where, the pace, and it's a 5-round fight. It might catch up with Tate. I know she has championship experience, but I think it might catch up with her.
I don't buy that. I think if Tate's going to lose, I think it's going to be on the scorecards. Or she might just get flat out submitted. I don't see her refusing to get off the stool. I don't see that. Miesha Tate has fought too hard to get back to this point. Because, look, we have to remember this. And this is why I'm sold on Miesha Tate. Miesha Tate does not need the money.
Sure.
And I bring that up because a lot of fighters come back because they could use those paydays. No knock on them. I get it. They are nice paydays. But Miesha Tate doesn't need it. Miesha Tate was the vice president of one championship, and she made a lot of money throughout her career. I think she's fine. But the reason why I bring that up is because it shows me Miesha Tate's different. If Miesha Tate was going to lose, in my eyes, Dorian, it was going to be against Marion Renaud, who had her walkaway fight, and Marion Renaud was going to put it all out. Marion Renaud didn't. Miesha Tate was going to lose that fight, and Miesha Tate won. So I think Miesha Tate right now is trying to get back to a title fight. I don't know if she will, but a win against Ketlen Vieira will do that, which is why I don't think she's going to stay on the stool. If she's going to lose, she's going to go out on her shield.
Right. And I want to clarify. I'm not predicting her to not answer the call.
I know.
I just think I view this as a high-paced, high-energy type of fight. And let's be fair. She did dominate Renaud, but that was her retirement fight. She knew she was on her way out. As long as you make the walk, you get in the check. Vieira's actually trying to fight for a belt. She was undefeated and gets KO'd, comes back, wins her next fight, and then the next fight loses. That's not something that sits well with someone who's been undefeated. And obviously everyone's been undefeated, but I mean actually in the promotion undefeated. She has a lot to lose. Because if she loses to Miesha Tate, there's no way she's getting a title shot in this division. The 35 division already moves slow because you have the champ defending 2 different weight classes. So if Miesha Tate can get the jump on her, then yeah, I think Miesha Tate gets a title shot before anybody, just off of her name recognition alone. So I think this is a big fight. I think Viera knows it's a big fight. It's her first main event, and I think she'll perform. I actually do think it'll be a unanimous decision by Viera. I think probably 3-4 rounds to her.
Vieira's a tough matchup, I'll give you that. And I know some people thought actually the line should have been a lot bigger in favor of Viera. I didn't. I'm actually a fan of Viera being the favorite because I get it. You're coming off of a 5-year layoff. Yes, you fought recently and you ended that layoff, but now you're really swimming in deep waters here. So I think that's what Vegas is anticipating, because no offense to Marion Renaud was at the end of her career and she was
on her way out.
44 years old too, right?
Yeah.
It's different than a 30-year-old Ketlen Vieira. So I get it. I get why you're picking her. I get why the odds makers think she's the favorite. I just think we're going to see a grappling exhibition from Miesha Tate.
Fair. And I mean, let's jump around on this card. We have the co-main, Chiesa and Brady.
Oh, man.
That's a banger. Sean Brady was matched up against Kevin Lee before he had to pull out of that fight. I actually don't know who I think is going to win. I see here Chiesa is actually the underdog, which surprises me. But Sean Brady's like that. And he's not trying to lose his O to Chiesa, especially on a high-profile card like this. Co-main, one of the last cards of the year. Yeah, this is a huge step up in competition for Sean Brady. I think he's ready for it. I think he actually beats Chiesa if I'm just going off the top of my head now.
Not only does he beat Chiesa, I think he submits him. I think he submits him.
Back-to-back submission losses for Chiesa.
Look what Vicente Luque did to him after Vicente Luque was almost submitted by Michael Chiesa. And you know what, Dorian? That is still my round of the year.
That was
That's my round of the year. And the two contenders right now are both Vicente Luque fights, Woodley and Chiesa. Okay. But yeah, to get back to this fight though, Sean Brady, in my estimation, I hold him in such high regard. Sean Brady, in my opinion, is one of 3 welterweights who have the tools to beat Kamaru Usman. Colby Covington is one of them, even though Colby Covington will never fight Kamaru again. Khamzat Chimaev has what it takes. I'm not saying any of these guys will beat Kamaru. I'm saying they have the skill set to. And Sean Brady's the third. Sean Brady, I think, has the grappling background as well as the striking background to do so. Now, all of that could be put to bed with the loss to Michael Chiesa.
Very fast.
Yeah, all of the hype will go out of the window. Another interesting storyline to this fight, isn't Sean Brady and Paul Felder teammates? Or I should say, aren't they teammates? And Paul Felder and Michael Chiesa host a podcast for the UFC, right?
Yes.
That's interesting.
There's some
weird.
Insider trading going on.
Yeah, that's I was thinking about that today. I'm like, wait a minute. Sean Brady's a Philly guy. I know he trained with Paul Felder if he still doesn't train with Paul Felder. And Felder and Chiesa are co-hosts. That must be awkward.
Yeah, it was on 259, which was Jan and Izzy. They during the fight, it's crazy. I was just watching this fight too. Jake Matthews and Sean Brady. He had Jake Matthews in a mounted guillotine, and Paul Felder is screaming at the top of his lungs. He's like, I've never been in a guillotine tighter than Sean Brady's. He has the hardest squeeze of anybody I've ever sparred with. And I'm just like chill, bro. Like, relax. Like, I know you commentate. I know you train with him, but chill. And then, like, as I'm saying that, Sean Brady puts him out with a one-armed guillotine. And I was like, oh, okay, that's why Paul Felder's so high on this kid, because you put someone out with a one-arm choke, that's crazy. But yeah, I think this is probably in line to be fight of the night, just based off the two guys. That'll also be a grappling matchup. We got Davy Grant and Adrian Yanez. I think that's going to be a banger, obviously. And Terrence McKinney returns on the card. That's your boy. I see you guys been interacting on social media. Mike's getting famous on me, guys.
No, that's TWSN's boy. We're building up as a company. We're building up a relationship with him. And who knows, maybe we can have him on, whether it's on this show or just on the network in general. I think it would be great for us to interact with him and do more work with him, because his story, Dorian, it's amazing. The guy literally died, right? And I'm not saying that being hyperbolic. No. He died on the way to an ambulance after a drug overdose. And he survived. Like, it almost breaks my heart hearing that, and it makes me tear up, because this guy's life was over. But
literally,
God or someone else out there, whoever you believe in, was watching over him and gave that man a second chance at life. And he said, you know what? I am not going to get back to that place I was in June 2015. I am going to make my life better. He went into Warrior Camp Gym. And from there, it's been, peaks and valleys. He had a chance to earn a UFC contract until he was knocked out by Sean Woodson. Didn't let that deter him. Got back on the horse, kept going. And look at him now. Had the fastest knockout in lightweight history in the UFC. Has a chance to beat a very solid prospect in Ziem. That will be a very tough fight. Might be fight of the night, mind you, but win or loss, Terrence McKinney is a winner at life.
Yeah.
To come back from what he came back from, it's astonishing. And I'm not saying that because I covered him. I'm being unbiased here. If you know his story, and I know you feel the same way, if you know his story, you know that this guy is made of something that not too many people are made of.
Yeah, absolutely. He's built different. And if you guys don't know his story, you're not familiar with his story, just go to his Twitter. He quote tweets the tweet, if not every week, maybe every other week. And it's just a reminder, hey, I was pronounced dead. I had overdosed, thought my life was over. Next thing you know, I'm in the UFC. I had the fastest knockout in division history. And he would have been back in the octagon sooner if he hadn't hurt his knee celebrating that. And but he's back now. And again, for Ziem, no easy task. Huge for the division. And this is what we call on MMA Twitter a prospect burner, because one of these prospects will be burned. And it sucks that it has to be one of them, but great card. I think the UFC is really doing a great job ending the year off with some amazing cards, not just the main event being good, but the rest of the card, not just having big names, but guys we're excited to see, women we're excited to see. Like, I love seeing Viera-Tate fight again. Her 5-year layoff, it made me feel away. Like, I was hurt. I'm like,
it
man,
wasn't right.
You can't choke Holly Holm out and then leave us like that. Like, but yeah, I think it's gonna be great. And something that's even better about this weekend, we got some boxing, Mike. We got Bud Crawford, Terrence Crawford going up against Sean Porter for the welterweight strat. Obviously, this Friday or Saturday, excuse me. Who do you have in that fight and why?
I have Terrence Crawford winning by split decision. 12-round war. I'm going to predict both guys will get knocked down throughout this fight. I think both guys are going to hit the deck. And a lot of people are counting out Sean Porter, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because of his layoff. Maybe it's because we have seen him in high-profile fights against elite welterweights, and he came up short. We saw it against Kell Brook. He lost in 2014. We saw it against Keith Thurman, a very close fight that he lost in June 2016. That was also ruled a unanimous decision. I disagreed with that. It should have been a split decision loss. And then he lost a split decision to Errol Spence in September 2019. So this guy has been in there with the who's who. Terrence Crawford's just another name. And you have to give both of these guys credit, because Terrence Crawford easily could have stayed on his side of the aisle, so to speak, and just fought someone in Top Rank. But he decided, you know what? I'll bring along the premier boxing champion guy, because he's willing to come over to my side. And I will use him as a way to get to Errol Spence, because if I'm able to do business with someone who fights under the PBC banner, then I can do business with Errol Spence. I think that's what Terrence Crawford's going to show, but Terrence Crawford's going to be in for the toughest fight of his night. For the toughest fight of his life. I don't care what anyone says. Sean Porter is going to make Terrence Crawford earn that win, because that's what he does. Sean Porter gets in on the inside, hits you with hard shots. They might not have a lot of length on them because he's a little bit of a smaller welterweight, but he just keeps a frenetic pace on you. Crawford, though, his ability to switch stances, work that jab, his power is also something that you can't sleep on either. I think this is going to be a great fight. And one last prediction for this one, Dorian. Fight of the year. Fight of the year.
Just off the top, what do you have as fight of the year right now? Is it still Wilder Fury 3?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say it is, because again, I'm doing based on main events. So I would say that is
or Tank and Barrios. I think that probably is mine. Now that I thought about it a little bit. That was a really good fight.
Yeah, that's close. Yeah, it's one of those. Because again, you gotta give favor to the pay-per-view fights.
Yeah.
And I think those fights are up there.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you on everything here. I don't know if both guys will get dropped. Actually have it unanimous decision. I say Crawford's jab and his range will be the key to this fight. He is the bigger fighter. I think he has 6-inch reach advantage. I do think that the KO streak that he's on ends. And ironically enough, he did knock out Kell Brooks, who beat Sean Porter. So a little boxing math, I guess.
But I will say, Kell Brook is not the same that he was.
Of course, 6-7 years in difference. But in fairness, that means something to me that that's his last fight. And now he turns his meter towards Sean Porter. That means a lot for me. Mm-hmm. To me, I see something in that. I think his jab, his range will be key. I think Porter isn't the power puncher, but he does swing very hard. And I think he has the potential to put Bud down. Porter does have a great chin as well. And I think part of the reason you said that people may not understand or underestimate Sean Porter a little bit, it's because I thought he was a full-time commentator. The last few times I've seen him, he's been on the mic. I had to look up. I'm like, wait, when's the last time he fought? I was like, oh, wait, he did fight Errol Spence. Mm-hmm. Oh, I do remember that. And it's like there's so many high-profile boxing events that he's now commentating. It kind of took my mind off of it. Like when I was like, Terrence Crawford, Sean Porter, I'm like, Sean Porter, why do I know that? Oh, that's the commentary guy. He's still boxing. So
that's crazy that you associate him. That is crazy.
It is, but it isn't, because in his last few fights, they've been few and far between. He's not as active as he once was. I see here he has a win over Sebastian Formelio.
That was a while ago, too.
And then, August of 2020. So you haven't fought in a year and a half. And then the fight right before that was also a year against Errol Spence, which is the last time I physically remember watching him. And then he has the split decision over Ugas. So like in 2019, he fought twice. In 2020, he only fought once. And now it's end of 2021 and you're fighting. So his inactivity is probably why I think that. But I do think it's going to be a good fight. I think they both have similar styles. I think they're going in for the knockout. They're trying to put each other down, but they're both boxers. They're not just power punchers, not winging shots. Yep. It's not going to be like a Wilder fight where he's not the best boxer, but you probably pick him because he might knock somebody's block off. Like, no, these guys are both solid, fundamental boxers, and they both have power in their hand. I think Bud has a little more power, but Porter's chin is like that, I think. But I was watching their press conference, and Porter's dad, who's his trainer, said he didn't study Crawford. And he says, I don't study him. I just making sure my son's right. And in my head, I'm like, as the head trainer, you should definitely study your opponent, especially an undisputed champion. You're trying to take a belt off him. And I don't know if he was being facetious or what, but I don't like the trainer, especially the trainer's my dad. Like, Dad, shut up. Because I got to fight him. And you talk about you don't study him. That might piss him off. I don't know if you took it any differently. I took that almost as disrespect.
That's what Kenny Porter does. He did the same thing to Danny Garcia in February 2018. Danny Garcia fought Brandon Rios. And then Kenny Porter just barges into the ring and was like, just talking smack. That's what he does. I don't know if I buy it. I think it's just kind of putting Crawford to the side a little bit. But if anyone's watching film, I guarantee you Sean Porter has watched film. You know why? Because Sean Porter's a commentator. You said
he has to.
Yeah, that's what he does. Sean Porter commentated the Olympics for boxing on top of all the other things. He did some Triller work. He obviously did Wilder Fury, did a lot of Fox Sports commentary work too. But yeah, I don't put too much stock in that, but I do agree. That's not what you want to hear from your dad. It's kind of like, all right, Dad, I get it. You're trying to sell the fight for me, but let's hold off on that.
He's writing a check that his son has to cash now.
Yeah.
But, I my main takeaway is if you can't beat Errol Spence, you're not gonna get Bud. I think because Bud is looking to fight Errol Spence, I don't think Errol Spence is looking to fight Bud, and I think there's a reason for that. And I think Errol Spence is amazing. Don't get it twisted, but Terrence Crawford is the de facto number one in that division, in my opinion.
Wait, you have Crawford ahead of Spence?
Yes.
Why?
I think he's just pure.
Oh no.
There's no logical way you can tell me Spence and Crawford get in that ring and Spence walks out the winner. I'm sorry.
Are you kidding me?
I'm sorry.
What? Okay. Didn't Crawford get hurt by Aegis Kavaluskas in 2019? He did. That should have been a knockdown. I'm sorry. Spence hits you like that, you're out. Come on.
Spence don't got the power to hit him like that. Crawford has more power than Spence. We're not doing this, Mike.
I can't. Oh my God, I can't. Dorian, we were having a great show up until you tried to say that Terrence Crawford, who has only been a welterweight since June 2018 and won his belt against Jeff Horn, is better than Errol Spence Jr., who has fought a ton of guys in the welterweight division. Oh my God, I can't believe this. I cannot believe this. Crawford's number 2. This is like LeBron James and Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is a Hall of Famer, right? But he will never be better than LeBron James. This is that for the welterweight division.
How can you say that, though? Terrence Crawford is undefeated, undisputed, and is about to come over, like you said, and about to take all of Errol's belts. Errol's not looking for him.
His last fight was against Kell Brook in November 2020. I'm sorry, Dorian. Terrence Crawford.
He had a fight scheduled. He pulled out, didn't he?
Crawford?
Yeah.
I don't believe so. I think this was his fight.
I might be mistaken too.
But look, Crawford, in my opinion, is the pound for pound number 3 fighter. It's Canelo, Errol Spence, Crawford. I'm sorry. I can't put Crawford ahead of Spence. I can't do it.
Okay, we'll see. And that's the best thing because
we may never know. We may never know.
No. We gonna know because we both think Crawford's gonna win, and after he wins,
I don't know if they'll fight.
What's Spence doing?
You know what? Honestly, I don't know if they'll ever fight each other.
And that's an issue with boxing for me. That's an issue.
That's a massive issue.
I'm saying one guy's number 1. You're saying the other guy's number 1. They're in the same sport, different promotions. They'll probably never fight. Like literally, he's chasing him. That don't mean anything to you.
It does. But Errol Spence, I just think Errol Spence beats Terrence Crawford because Errol Spence has been in the welterweight division longer. Errol Spence, if we want to be honest here, Errol Spence beat a better version of Kell Brook than Terrence Crawford did. Errol Spence beat Kell Brook when Kell Brook still had the belt, the IBF belt. And then Errol Spence took the WBC belt from Sean Porter. So make of that what you will. I'm telling you, though, if they get in the ring, Errol Spence is coming out on top. This is like Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. This fight won't happen for another 5 years, but when it does, Errol Spence will be the victor.
Who's Floyd in this situation?
Errol Spence.
Stop it!
Manny Pacquiao's the top-ranked guy, all right? He's cleaning out top rank, and that's cool. That's great, but it's not PBC.
Okay. I mean, we can agree to disagree.
Sure.
These two aren't even the ones fighting this weekend. Okay. Did I get you? You said unanimous decision or split for Bud?
For the Crawford-Porter fight?
Yes.
Split decision for Bud, yeah.
Okay. I probably have it unanimous, but split unanimous, same majority, same thing in boxing.
Yeah.
Okay. Hopefully we'll get to predict that fight. Hopefully it happens soon. Hopefully everybody stays healthy, and hopefully one guy stops running. Anywho, I'm kidding. I actually love Errol Spence, and
same with Crawford. I love him too.
Yeah, in the chance he sees this, keep running. That's all I'm saying. Because you got guys like him who think you're the number one in the division, and you may be, but one guy's chasing you and one guy's running, and hey, it ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun. I'll say that. So
Okay.
we can leave out on that note, Mike. It's a great show. Again, and next week, guys, Thursday is Thanksgiving Day. I believe TWSN all week, holiday week off. We've been working hard over here, pumping things out. So next week we'll be off. We'll recap the fight the following week, and we hope you guys enjoy the holidays, stay safe, and be with your loved ones. And we out. Peace.
Get up, let me begin.